All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Jenny Magera. I'm a Google certified teacher from Chicago, Illinois. I'm the digital learning coordinator for a network of 29 Chicago public schools. And I'm here to talk to you about Googleizing your school. Woo! So this is going to be kind of like a top 10 ways that you may or may not have known that you can use to rock out with Google, do new things, get excited, geek your teachers up. And I tried to make sure that these 10 things were fun and geeky, but at the same time, easy for you to try out. And I'm going to stick around afterwards, so if anything that I do is too fast, because I am running through 10 things in 20 minutes, I'm happy to chat with you in more depth. That's my name and that's my Twitter handle, and if you have any other questions, feel free to tweet me. So I'll leave that up for just a second. I love it. I know when you're at presentations, everyone's trying to take a picture and you could have written it down in the time that you took to focus the phone, right? All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is get some audience participation up in here. And the way we're going to do that is with Google Moderator. How many of you have heard of Google Moderator? All right, good hands. So the first trick is to use Google Moderator for Q&A, both in sessions like this when you're leading workshops and PDs, but they're great for districts, they're great for classrooms. If you're rolling out a new initiative like, I don't know, Chromebooks, and parents are getting kind of salty about it, and they're like, what's a Chromebook? Why are you doing that with my child? I would like you to buy an iPad instead, or this or that. Instead of having them constantly knocking on your door and calling your principal, open a moderator. Hank Thiele is a colleague of mine in the Chicagoland area, and he did this when they went one-to-one with Chromebooks in his district. He opened it up, the parents got to ask any questions they wanted to, and then the district took some time and aggregated all the questions and answered them, so that was really awesome. So we're going to do this so that you can ask questions today. You can ask questions, add your own ideas, question what I say, complain, talk about lunch, share your favorite restaurant. So if you go to tinyurl.com/ISTE-Google10, and that is confusing, I realized that afterwards. Everyone's like, it's not 2010, did we time travel? It's 10 because I'm going to show you 10 things today. So ISTE-Google10, you'll be brought to this moderator, and all you need to do is just ask your question or throw your comment in the box at the bottom and hit submit. So again, it's tinyurl.com/ISTE-Google10, and it is not case sensitive. So don't worry about capital letters, lowercase letters. I just made it that way so it's easier to read. Just wait another minute. ISTE-Google10. All right. When you ask a question, it pops up, and then the nice thing about Moderator is you can respond to each other's questions, but you can also vote on the question. So you can say, that's a good question, or I disagree. It's awesome for book clubs. We'd use this in our literature circles with our grades 3 through 12th graders. So they'll make comments, they'll suggest the next book they want to read. The kids vote yes or no. I read that book already, here's what I thought about it. We also use it for science labs. They'll create a lab, and then they'll all talk about their hypothesis, and they'll throw in the moderator what their different hypotheses are, and then kids can agree or disagree by clicking on the check or the X and then responding in post or response. You can sort this by most popular question or comments, or you can sort it by time, like the newest ones at the top. What's also great about it is in Moderator, it's not just about questions and comments, but the different series. So I'm actually going to step off here, and you can see over here it says pick a topic. Maybe you can see it. These are just questions. You can actually create different topics within a series. So the series is maybe your class. Miss Magera's Math Awesome Class. Woo! And then under that, I can have different topics. So I could say algebra, numeracy, measurement. And then I can have kids asking questions or having discussions about each of those different subtopics from within a series. So in literacy, you might say, here we all read whatever fill-in-the-blank book, 50 Shades of Grey, and then here's all our questions about that. No, you wouldn't read that book in school. Shame. Who would do that? All right, number 2, Google Docs for collaboration. This is a great thing to do. Many of you probably have already seen it, but I'm going to show you a quick video, which is a dramatization of something that truly happened. I created this with a website called Doc Story Builder. You can go to docstorybuilder.appspot.com and create your own little Google commercial like that. Or you could just Google Doc Story Builder and then find the URL if I said it too fast. But this actually happened in my class. I wasn't recording it, but what happened, I was working with some students. They were doing a project, and one of my students' parents said, hey, I have a Gmail account. Could I maybe share that doc because I want to see how my child's doing? And I thought, well, that's a downright smart idea. Why, yeah, go ahead. But shame on me, I set her to edit privileges. So we're in the middle of class, and the kids are really like powering away, and they're 5th graders, so they're like way too cool for school. They're just at their age where they're like, adults are so lame. So they're working on it, and all of a sudden I hear, oh, God! I'm like, oh, my God, they broke the Chromebook. What's going on? And it was the mom had hopped on and was, like, chatting in the middle of their project, being like, this is so adorable, you guys. I'm going to White Castle. Does anyone want anything? And they were mortified. But the great thing about that was it was a great example of how you can really bring anyone in. It used to be the kids in your classroom were the only ones who could learn at that given time. But now a parent could maybe come in and help. Or I could have a child from any of your schools. I work in Chicago. If you want to collaborate, call me, okay? But really, we're getting people from, I have a colleague who works in an international school in Seoul. And we were talking about environments. And in Illinois, we have a few different environments, but they have different ones in Korea. So we had them jump on a Google Doc, and they were collaborating from across the globe. Really, really cool stuff. So when you think about collaboration, understand that it's not just about getting a kid A sitting next to kid B to work together, but it's breaking down the walls of your classroom, of your building, and bringing in different perspectives and thought points to help enrich your classroom. So then we get into from fun collaboration to assessment, which is usually like, oh, God, it's assessment. I hate grading. As a classroom teacher, I love knowing what my students know, but I hate grading. I hate grading papers. I wish that there was just a way that I could like X-ray vision into a kid's head and like know, oh, this is what you get. Okay, great. I don't want to grade a stack of 97 exit tickets every day. So you can use Google Forms for assessment to get it to do your homework for you as a teacher. So instead of me trucking home like 97 math journals, exit tickets, Post-it notes, I create a Google form that asks the kids a few formative assessment questions. Convert this fraction. What was the main idea of the story? Was your hypothesis validated? And then it automatically dumps into a spreadsheet. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Google Forms, as soon as you hit submit, it throws it into an online spreadsheet. What I've done here is I've conditionally formatted it. So what I said was I went over to this spreadsheet and I said, hello, spreadsheet, and I clicked on a button at the top of the column and I said, if the student says 0.83 or 0 and 83 hundredths, if you're a math teacher, turn blue. And if they say 0 and 84 hundredths, turn green. If they say 0 and 4 tenths, turn yellow. And what it is 83 hundredths was the correct answer, 84 was the miscue, they forgot to round it, and 4 tenths was another misunderstanding that I figured they might have. If it doesn't turn any color, like 5 and 6 tenths, I don't know what the kid was thinking. I don't know, they weren't paying attention. But then over here I have the kids doing their metacognition, so explaining their thinking. Well, how did they get that? Because did they guess? What's going on over there with 5 and 6 tenths? That doesn't make any sense. So I can go ahead and read what they're doing. But what's nice about this is just by looking at it, you don't even have to read anything. I can see this kid got every single answer right. This one did, these got 2, and I can scan it. So if you think about the assessment cycle in my classroom, it used to be teach a lesson, give them an exit ticket or an assessment, go home, cry a little bit about all the grading I have to do, watch some TV, grade the papers, come back the next day, and then differentiate. By that time, the kid's like, I don't remember what we learned yesterday. This way, as soon as the assessment's coming in, I'm catching the kids in that moment of cognitive dissonance, that moment where they're like, oh my God, fractions and decimals are really confusing. I hate Miss McGarrett, she's so confusing. And then I can grab them and be like, this kid right here, hey, come on over, let's talk about that. Where'd you get 5 and 6 tenths? Immediately, I can pop that kid, bring him over in that moment that I'm confused. And so what I'm able to do in my classroom is every day I can teach, assess, differentiate in 60 minutes before any kid walks out of my classroom. So if you look at their metacognition, it's really interesting. You can see some of them are saying some great stuff. They're using the word vinculum. They're talking about why they knew to do what they did. I used the methods we learned in the lesson, repeated number. And then you see some less than juicy metacognition like this one, you know, where it said, because I did it the math way with a calculator and thought really hard. I love it when they do it the math way. But that's different, that's subjective, and I think this student's math way was a little bit different than the other math ways that we might want them to do, so I was able to grab that student and talk about their math way. So for some of you, you might be thinking like, okay, that seems good, but I still don't have time to read through all of that. That's still a lot to do. If you're already into Google Forms and you're like, I'm ready to take that next step and I want to do even less work, Google can do more work for you by installing a free program that runs in a Google spreadsheet called a script. And what a Google script does is it takes all the data in a spreadsheet and it does something super cool with it, like where you go like, whoa, like a Joey Lawrence, whoa! And that's what these are. So Doctopus, what does Doctopus do? You take a Google form and you have all of your students' email addresses and names in it, and then you want to say, I want to give you all a Google document to do for homework. So it might be we're all reading Antigone, and I want you to answer these 10 questions about Antigone and then write a reflection about the story. But you're a really high learner, so yours is like a really difficult one. We're going to talk about theme and character conflict, and not so much. You're struggling, so we're going to really scaffold that down for you, and you're on to a different book. And so in the past, what I'd have to do is create 3 different Google Docs, share it with you, share it with you, share it with you. And then if I wanted you to also use it, I'd have to say, okay, share it with you, but don't type in it. Make a copy. If you type in it, then he's going to have all your answers. So make sure you make a copy. You're on view only. And then the kids forget to share it back, and it's really confusing. Whoop. Also, what you shouldn't do is when you're presenting on a Chromebook you don't know is disable Hangouts. I don't know what she said. Were we going out to dinner? Is that what she said? We're going to a hotel to watch hockey? It's the Blackhawks game, Chicago. No, get out. No Google for you. So what Doctopus does is it'll take that Google Doc, and not only will it share it with all my students, it'll differentiate it based on what I want. So project groups, all of you are working on the same presentation, it'll share it with you, make me the owner, but give you guys full editing rights. It'll make copies of the doc, share it back with us. It'll allow you to grade it with a rubric called a Goobric. Isn't it adorable, Goobric? And then it will install over the document so I can grade it with a rubric. It throws it into a spreadsheet and allows me to email the grades back to you. So what we like to call Doctopus and Goobric is a photocopy machine for Google. It takes all of these docs and it makes copies of them and passes it out to your students automatically for you. So my teachers are using it every single day. Formule also is a great little script, and what this one does is it takes all the information from a form and it can do 3 things. Send text messages, calendar invites, and emails. So imagine that student who's late all the time. And then if you were like me, after school, you're like, all right, I need a second to breathe. I have to go to the bathroom. No, wait, I can't. I have to call all these parents and grade all these papers and make photocopies. What Formule does is I just fill out a form and I say, you know, my student here, I'm picking on you because you're in the front row. He's late again. I just pick his name from the drop down. His mom's name is there too, and it sends her a text message saying, so-and-so is late for the 2nd time. I can also have it send her an email. I pick his name from the form, I just do it, and it populates an email, and it sends it off to his mother. I can also have it do a calendar invite. So I can send a form to everyone that says, okay, who wants to hang out with Jenny at the Blackhawks game at the bar tonight? And then you fill out the form, and it will auto-calendar invite all of us based on how you fill out the form. I want to do it for Monday at 3 o'clock at whatever delicious place pub at Pat O'Brien's. And then it'll send you and me a calendar invite. So this one literally is, it's called Formule because it does all this heavy lifting of the forms for you. And the last one is called Autocrat, and what this is like Mad Libs for Google Docs. So you could take a form, and you could say, you know, I want it to be your first name, your favorite food, you're a movie star who you would love to meet, and your favorite device. And then what you do is you can write a whole Google Doc that has fill in the blanks, and it will populate those blanks with the information from the form. So it will be like, Dear Jenny, I'm so glad to see you at ISTE. Your favorite food is mashed potatoes. I hope you really get to meet Don Draper. See you later with your Chromebook. And then it creates this Google Doc. So the kids love it. We use this one a lot for parts of speech, and they do Mad Libs. But we also use it for certificates. So if I'm doing a session like this, at the end, you would fill out the form with your name, and all of a sudden in your inbox would be a little certificate that says, Dear Richard Martin, Ronald Martin, you are now a Google Awesome Pants person. Certificate, bam. And he's like, whoa, how did she do that? And I'm like, autocrat, magic. So those scripts are all fairly easy to use, but you just have to try them out, and I'm happy to stick around afterwards and show you how to use a couple of them. Andrew Stillman's the guy who built all of those, but there's a lot more scripts built by other people. That's his website, upd.org. And his scripts are all on there. You can watch his videos and see what he's doing. And that's UYOUPD, like professionaldevelopment.org. I'm going to move through this one and show that to you again later, just so I get through everything, because I'm only on 5. You could also use Google Sites for everything. So you've probably seen a Google site before. Here's an example of one of my colleagues. She's a kindergarten teacher, and she created a Google site for her kids and her parents. Here's a 5th grade math class. This was my classroom. And then you also, though, can create sites for your entire building. So this was the school that I worked at, National Teachers Academy. But we also run everything through here. So our calendar's on here. Any forms, a supply request form is a Google form on here. Field trip forms, instead of filling out the paper, it's on here. Community RTI, or response to intervention, or school-based problem solving, we put it on here if we're referring kids for tiered intervention. And what's nice about a Google site is you can password it, basically. So if you're not invited to the site, you can't see it. So it's safe for me to say, student A is at this tier of RTI, here's their student number, here's all the interventions they're getting, because it's private. You guys can't search it. So we use this instead of the 3-inch binder of paper and junk that you get at opening PD the first day of school and being like, here's the evacuation plan, here's this, here's that. It's all on our Google site. We also do it for events. Here you can see we're going to be doing a data day in a couple days on our network, and then here's a conference that we put on recently. So it's a great thing to do. And lastly, it's really great for units. So you can have students create Google Sites as a portfolio. You can do it as a unit. I'm teaching a lesson, a cross-content lesson about math and science and this and that, and it's amazing. And you can create a Google Site for your lesson plan where the kids click on the tabs to get to the different parts of the lesson, and they have videos and embedded activities within the site. So I have a lot of colleagues who create a different site for each of their units, and that launches it. And what's nice is they build on it every year, so they don't have to recreate the site from year to year. They're just improving it. So if you go to google.com/education, there's all these great lesson plans. This is one great example. Molly Schrader, who's going to be presenting at this booth later this week, could talk more about it. Next, for those of you who aren't familiar, Chrome has extensions. And there's a difference between extensions and apps. Extensions are at the top of your bar next to the Omnibox, or the Omnibar, right here to the right. And extensions are little mini programs that run behind the scenes in Chrome and help your browsing experience be more magical and lovely and delicious. Whereas apps are really just websites. You click on them, there's like a program, it's a website. But extensions are where it's really cool. One I really like is Announceify, and what it does is it reads the text on any Chrome web page to you, but what I really dig about it is for my students who have disabilities, it blurs out what it's not reading. So some of my kids are like, that's a lot of text, I can't read it, oh my God. But this, it just blurs it out. So you're like, oh, I could handle that one paragraph. And then when it finishes reading that paragraph, it blurs it out and it goes on to the next one. So it makes it more digestible for my students. KeyRocket is awesome for those of you who want to learn how to be faster at what you do, but don't have the time to study all your hotkeys. And for those of you who don't know what a hotkey is, it's basically instead of clicking compose, you can just click C, type C, and it opens a compose window. And you might think, well, that's not going to take me that long. Trust me. You save a few clicks in your day, it builds up to hours. It's like saving pennies. And KeyRocket's a great extension because instead of you having that Post-it note on your monitor of like, type C, Megara, geez, it pops up. Every time you click something that could have been a shortcut, a pop-up comes and it says you could have clicked this, and you eventually learn. Web page screenshots also really awesome because what it does is it takes any live web page and it allows you to edit it. So you can use this extension for good or for evil. You can use it for, you know, like, oh, here's the bestseller list on the New York Times. Now I'm teaching a writing unit. Now the kids can make their 10 stories they wrote in my class on the New York Times bestseller list. They love that one. Or I could just say, Jenny Megara receives top magazine prize and send it to my boss and be like, look, I need a raise. Lazarus saves all information from forms so that you can come back to it. I only have a minute left, so I'm just going to do quickly. Use Google Groups for PLCs. If you don't know what a Google Group is, I'll be over there. It really saves time, and it's awesome. It's like a listserv. Google Hangouts for meetings. It might be like that makes sense, but it's actually really helpful. Instead of at 4 o'clock when you got to go home and pick up your kid, or they're going to charge you $1 for every minute you're late at the daycare, and then I got to do this and you got to do that, and when can we schedule our meeting? Just hang out. It's easier. You can sit on your couch and be in your jammies. Who doesn't like that? And then calendaring for school events, making sure that you get everything on there so that you know who's where and what, but also for curriculum so that you can see 4th grade's teaching this, 6th grade's teaching that, and then you can see vertical alignment visually really easily. And then finally, YouTube for student creation. One thing people usually don't know is YouTube has an editor that looks like iMovie. So you can go into YouTube and actually create and edit your own videos, and it's really easy to do, and it's free. And with that, I'm getting kicked off the stage. So that's my information. I'll be over there. Thanks, guys.